Hello children and young people, and welcome to this video today where I will be sharing with you the fastest way to get rid of your mental health issues. So if you are watching this video, you're probably here because you have already identified that you are struggling with some kind of anxiety, low confidence, OCD, depression, you name it. There's quite a whole host of different mental health issues that exist for all people, but when they are present in young people, we are particularly concerned with getting them sorted so that they don't become a longer term issue or indeed get any worse as you grow into adulthood. Now, there are a lot of different therapies, methodologies, options available to you in order to help you get what you need to get yourselves back on track. But you are clearly here because you are most interested in finding the fastest way to be able to heal yourselves. Now, what I'm going to share with you today is a few different suggestions around the options that you have available. So I'm not actually going to be giving you like the secret in this video to improving your mental health, but I'm going to tell you what the secrets are so then you can go off and learn more about them and do something about it. But before we get into all of that, I just wanted to point out to you that if you have a medical health emergency, the best thing that you can do is get yourself off to your nearest healthcare clinic, hospital, urgent care centre, or even accident and emergency. If you feel like you are at risk of harm in some way and that it feels like an emergency, that is the way to go. Beyond that, there are tons of different services that are out there and available to you, and one of the best things you can do is start exploring which one might be the right option for you to choose. So I'm trained in a very specific form of therapy, which is classed as an alternative therapy called neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, and this is something that I specialise in offering to children and young people through a company called NLP for Kids. There is also lots of other therapies available through CAMHS, which is the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Service, and this is a service that can be accessed via the NHS, meaning that if you're here in the UK, then those are services that you will get for free. And there is a whole ton of other healthcare providers who have private services available that might be of interest to you too. So number one, in terms of finding the fastest route to solving your mental health issues, it would be easy to say medication would be the way to go. Here's why people think that medication is the fastest route to solving your mental health challenges. Because all you have to do is take the tablets that the doctor prescribes you, only prescribed ones from your GP, in order to get better. Here's the downside to that. Very often, doctors and healthcare providers are reluctant to provide medication for mental health issues to young people. And that's partly because diagnosing young people with mental health conditions is quite tricky. Sometimes you have like fluctuating emotions because of things like puberty. So that's why we tend not to see mental health diagnosis, like formal diagnosis, until later on in life. So it seems like the magic pill would be the fastest way to solve all your problems, but number one, we're perhaps going to find that it's difficult to get someone to prescribe that to you because it's difficult for them to formally diagnose you with an issue that requires medication. Number two, it can be tricky with medication because sometimes you might not get the right fit straight away. So you might go for 3 months waiting for the medication to kick in, only to find it wasn't the right option and you have to try something else. So that's another reason why medication isn't always the fastest route forward, even though it might have appeared to be from the outset. And the other thing to think about with medication is that it's not going to solve your mental health problem. It's going to deal with the symptoms of your mental health problem, but it isn't going to go in there and do the work that's required to get to the core of what the problem really was. So let's say, for example, you have a really bad phobia of dogs because when you were 3, you were bitten by a dog. You could take medication to help you deal with the anxiety that you have every single day about walking through the park to get to school. And that medication will, if it's effective for you, really help manage those anxious feelings. But it never gets rid of the dog phobia. So that then takes me to the second way in which we can deal with mental health problems, which may, in fact, be the fastest way. And that is by using therapy. Specifically, cognitive behavior therapies are really effective for children and young people. So you may have heard of CBT, and you may even have been through CBT, and you might be about to write in the comments box, but I've done CBT and it didn't work for me. Listen, not all CBTs packaged in the same way. One of the first things that's super important in any kind of therapy that you might look into in the future is your relationship with the therapist themselves. If you feel like, I like this person, I've got a good connection with them, doesn't matter what kind of therapy is, the chances are it's probably going to work really well for you, because that connection that you have with your practitioner or your therapist is very often like 80% of helping you to solve your problem. The tools that they use are important, and it might be that something like a cognitive behavioral therapy isn't quite the right fit for you, but there's loads of others. There's art therapy, psychotherapy, psychology, psychiatry. There's all sorts of different therapeutic interventions that would be worth your while exploring and finding out a little bit more about them. As I mentioned, I use something called NLP, which is a type of cognitive behavior therapy, but it works slightly differently. It's classed as more of an alternative form of therapy, and it's really about teaching you different strategies and techniques that you can use when you're in challenging situations, or you just need to get on top of that self-talk that's going on in your head. You know, if you've got really good at beating yourself up with a big stick, NLP is a good way to start undoing that and setting you on the right course to get your problems resolved. So in terms of finding the fastest way to help you with your mental health challenges, my opinion is actually that we do a combination of both of the things that we've said already. Very often the solution lies not just in taking the magic pill and not just doing the work of a cognitive behavior therapy, but actually a combination of the both. And let me tell you why that can be really effective for you. When we jump straight in with something like CBT and someone's in a really, really low depressed state, they might not be receptive to the techniques that are actually going to be super helpful for them. So by being medicated, that might give them enough of a lift to be able to really engage and get the most from those methods, and then be able to work on the core of the problem so that later they exit from the medication, they stop taking it, and the medication isn't something that becomes a crutch or a long-term plan for them. Now, is this going to be overnight success? Chances are probably not. But there is one other thing I want to share with you that I believe is going to accelerate whatever treatment form you choose in helping you to quickly get rid of mental health and emotional issues, and that is taking responsibility for finding the solution and putting whatever those tactics or strategies might be into action. I'm going to share a story with you quickly to highlight what it is that I'm saying here, and this is super important. I had a client that I was working with, and she was someone who was struggling with anxiety and depression. She was a teenager and she was seeking to get medication for this, but it was not as yet prescribed, and she was a long way away from getting through the child and mental health system, so CAMHS, in order to reach someone who might be able to offer medication. So in the meantime, she came to work with me, and we were putting some NLP strategies in place that would help to support her until she reached a place where perhaps there may be an offer of medication on the table, or if not, then some other form of therapy that might be maybe more of a long-term fit for her. So what I tend to do tends to be short intervention. I typically only work with people for around 8 sessions. So it's not for months and months and months and months, but for the right people and the right kind of problem, it can provide a relatively quick fix. So going back to the story, this particular young lady was at this point in her life so depressed that she was doing nothing, absolutely nothing, all day, every day, and was really just engaging with technology to pass the time. When she came to see me, I gave her some suggestions of things that would help her to start making progress in the right direction. And sometimes the strategies that I share are actually quite practical, like doing stuff kind of practical. For example, she was living in a bedroom that looked like a bomb site. One of the things that can be really helpful is to tidy up the space that's around you, because the more cluttered you feel in your external environment, the more cluttered you end up feeling inside your head as well. And so just by doing something like tidying up or cleaning, it can actually give you a bit of a lift and then give you enough energy to move on and do something that's going to be even more significant in either the feeling of reward or the feeling of life being worthwhile in some way. So I was giving her lots of strategies like this, which were not going to take up huge amounts of time and didn't require a huge investment of energy. But the problem was she was never actually putting them into practice. She was so fixated on the idea of receiving medication to control her anxiety and depression. It was almost like she was coasting through our sessions, waiting to get to the day that somebody would give her a magic pill. But remember what I said earlier, even if we reach a point where somebody prescribes some kind of serotonin boosting medication, that is never going to cure the real problem. It's just going to deal with the symptoms, which means then that she ends up keeping whatever it was that caused the mental health issue in the first place. So sometimes there is going to be a need for you to take stock, like pay attention to where it is you are looking for the solution to come from. If you are putting your solution outside of yourself, like this will be the thing to solve my problem. If this doesn't work, then you are left with nothing. You still have lack of control over the issue and you're still a victim of the problem. If you say, well, maybe this doctor, this will help me solve the problem, then you are still putting the solution outside of yourself, hoping someone else, like the next therapist you see, is going to be the one to solve the problem. It's not until you start to take back some of that ownership of what's going on inside your own head and taking the steps that you need to take in order to get a handle on that, start figuring those things out, that you will actually start to get better. Because if this was the medication, then you're still putting the solution outside of yourself. The solution has to come from within. You have to start taking control of your own thoughts and the strategies that will help you to manage your emotions better in order to really get the quick fix to solving your problem. Because otherwise what happens is you get temporary solutions, but the problem ends up coming back again a little bit later, and then it turns out, well, actually, I've still had that problem for all of this time. It looked like a quick fix, but it wasn't a quick fix. So that's my main suggestion to you at this point, is think about where you are looking at the solution to come from. Are you looking for someone else or something else outside of your physical body to fix it for you? Or are you looking to do the work inside, to follow the tactics and strategies that are taught to you so that you begin to take control of yourself from the inside? That, my friends, is the quickest way to solving your mental health issues. And if you have any questions or comments about what I've just said, you can leave them in the description box down below this video, and I will see you all again 1 month from now. In the meantime, have yourselves a wonderful conclusion to 2020, which has been a particularly strange year, and let's all hope for an easier one in 2021. If you found this video helpful or useful in some way, then please make sure that you click the thumbs up button, and if you're not already, then do subscribe to this channel by clicking the red subscribe button, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!